This package is also talking about some volatile items such as net migration. So, is this savings package and slight surcharge fees package also not based on very sort of unpredictable forecasts? Thanks.
No. Just have a look at the graph. I mean, you're City AM, for goodness sake. Just have a look at the trend. The trends have now been well established for several years, and actually the numbers are getting worse, and the predictions for those numbers, whether it's PIP, whether it's universal credit, all of this will be considerably worse this time next year and even worse the year after that. The trend is very, very clear. And this is about arresting and turning around that trend.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, the only number that could in any way be described as being reliant on a variable is the one on IHS that you flagged, the immigration health surcharge. The 5 billion number we just touted as being the saving is based on the current OBR forecast for net immigration. But I also said in my speech, because we've done the numbers on this, if they cut net immigration to zero, which is what our policy is, it would still save north of 3 billion quid. So that's still 23 billion pounds, more than enough to negate tax rises.
Emilio Casaliccio from Politico.
Hi, thank you very much, Emilio. You say that you made no specific promises about council tax before those May elections, but reform local groups did make very clear promises. So what will you do to keep better control over what these people promise on essentially your behalf in local areas? And are you able to say something just a bit more general about that experience, what councils, these reform councils are finding, the challenges that they're finding in terms of saving money or in terms of making difficult decisions for savings that actually are proving very unpopular or the government won't let them do? What have you learned from this experience of some form of governance about what you should be promising ahead of the election and how a reform government might need to kind of temper expectations?
I was incredibly careful in the run-up to those county elections not to make false economic promises. And I promise you, you will not find a leaflet officially sanctioned by the party. You will not find a clip or an excerpt of anything I said on the street or on camera or to you or wherever it may be where I made any false claims about tax and council tax. And I can assure you, having travelled and having met, I can't even think, but probably 800 to 900 of the 1,300 people that stood, 600 people that stood for us, I didn't hear anyone making false promises on council tax. So I think, the messages that were coming from the central party through the senior membership team were very, very loud and clear. Lessons, yeah, I mean, I think, getting anything to change in this country is difficult. It's difficult because of inertia. It's difficult because of the status quo. It's difficult because there are plenty of people living in the marzipan layer, on a public sector with the promise of great pensions, with maybe not the longest working hours in the world, many of them thinking since the pandemic that actually work from home was a suitable alternative. Yeah, getting things to change is hard. I think that's perhaps the biggest thing that I take from these first few months. And that is to a very large extent why, it's getting back to the Express question really, that's very much why Danny Kruger has come into the party to oversee a team, to think, how are we going to deal with those challenges with Whitehall and elsewhere? But yeah, that's my big takeout. Okay, we're rattling through. Will Hazel from the iPaper.
Thank you. Do you support Shabana Mahmood's plan to deport the children of failed asylum seekers? Because I think earlier in the year, Reform rode back on plans to deport the children of illegal migrants in your mass deportation plan.
Look, my job is not to make your life easier. And so I'm going to say this. The absolute priority with deporting those who've come illegal are young, undocumented males of fighting age, many of whom will do great harm in this country to women, to girls, join crime gangs, and that is the absolute priority, and that remains my answer.